Donald Trump is back in the Oval Office. He has won the 2024 US elections against Kamala Harris. Now, this victory may have stunned some people, but many were actually anticipating Donald Trump's victory. Given everything that has happened, not just in the US, but around the world in the last 4 years under the Biden administration. Now, people have witnessed both the Trump administration and the Biden administration. Now, obviously, Kamala Harris was the VP in the Biden administration and had a major role to play because she was the VP. Even though, people may argue that, she was not the president, but she had a say in almost every major policy changes under the Biden administration. So the choice for majority of the American voters was obvious at this point of time. They wanted Trump back in the office. In this video particularly, we're going to talk about what Trump's victory actually means for the American economy. And when we are talking about the economic policies of Donald Trump, how can we not talk about the favorite word of Donald Trump? This word to Donald Trump is the most beautiful word to ever exist in the dictionary. And this is tariffs. And why? We are going to talk about that in this video. So let us first understand what tariffs are. Tariffs are basically import taxes. So, for example, you live in country A and now you want to import electronic gadgets from country B, and your country A, has imposed a 20% import tax or tariff on every electronic gadget that you import from country B. And let's say you want to import an electronic gadget worth $100. Now, if you're importing that gadget from country B worth $100, you have to pay its cost, and then you have to pay an additional 20% value, 20% import tax or tariff on top of that particular purchase. So in total, you will have to pay $120. Now, these tariffs, you pay them directly to your government, right? To the government of your country. So this is what tariffs are. Now, let us understand what Trump's stance is on tariffs and what he wants to do when he comes to office in January. Now, Trump has mentioned that he's going to propose a 60% tariff on every Chinese product that is imported. Now, that could be more than 60% as well. For example, he said that he's going to double the current tariff that is on the EVs that are imported from China from 100% to 200%. So that is one thing. Another point that he has also mentioned with regards to these tariffs is that he's going to put a 10 to 20% tariff on everything that is imported in the US from around the world, and specifically EU. And Trump has mentioned time and again that he loves tariffs, as he believes that tariffs put American interests first. He wants to put America first, which is a great thing. Every leader of every single country should put their interests first. And he also believes that these tariffs, they are basically one single solution for almost every single problem that America has. And he firmly believes that tariffs can also promote world peace. Now, to put things into perspective, when you look at the trade deficit, the country with the highest trade deficit in the world, that is the US, with $1.1 trillion worth of trade deficit, which simply means that the US has imported more than it has exported to the rest of the world. And in numbers, it has imported goods worth $1.1 trillion more than what it has exported to the rest of the world, meaning that it has given $1.1 trillion worth of business more to the rest of the world than it has received from the rest of the world. So the US is on the giving end of it. It's just giving and giving and giving, and it is not receiving as much as it should as the rest of the world. This is what Donald Trump believes, and this is why he wants to put American interests first. He wants to put the interest of the American producers first. He wants more exports going out from the country than imports coming into the country. And on the flip side, when you look at the country with the highest trade surplus, it is China. This country, China, has $820 billion worth of trade surplus, which is more than any other country. So China is on the receiving end of it. China is receiving $820 billion worth of more business than any other country, than it is giving to the rest of the world. The US wants to put a tariff and a major tariff on everything that comes from China. Frankly speaking, when you look at all the businesses, all the big tech companies in the US, they're not allowed to do business in China. Meta is banned, YouTube is banned, Google is not working over there. This picture from a business point of view is clear to Donald Trump. This is also part of his reasoning as to why more business should come to the US as compared to what it is currently giving, right? Specifically to China, because China is not letting all these big tech companies work in China. They're fine with exporting everything to the US, right? They want the US to import all of its products while limiting the kind of products that it is going to import from the US. These tariffs, they're going to put American producers at an advantage. They're going to benefit the American producers first. If tariffs are imposed on another country, that is going to bring in all the business to these domestic producers, which will not only give more business to these American producers, but also lead to creation of a lot more jobs in the country. However, that only explains one half of the picture. The other half, we are going to talk about that in a minute. Trump also believes that if any country tried to start a war, he could simply call the leader of that particular country and tell him that, he's going to put 100% tariff on their country if they try to start a war. And that is how the other leader, the leader of another country, would pull back from actually starting a war. So that is his idea of promoting world peace through tariffs. But the truth is, and this is what American economists, they are also scared of. They are afraid of these tariffs, because these tariffs, they are going to burden the American consumers first, at least in the short term. And here's how. So for Trump, he believes that, the cost of the tariffs, they are directly put on the country that they're putting tariffs on. But the truth is that whatever the importers that are sitting in America, they are going to import from another country, they will have to pay the additional tariff, that whatever tariff is. So they have to pay that tariff to the American government. And now these importers, what they're going to do is they're going to shift or transfer the tariff cost to the American consumers. The American consumers are going to take the burden of it. The American consumers will have to pay a higher price of tariffs on the products that they are going to get imported. However, that is going to definitely, discourage the demand, or that is definitely going to bring down the demand for the products from country B or another country, specifically China. That is going to put the demand for domestic products first. But what will happen is, when there is less competition in the market, the American consumers, they're not going to get a lot of variety to choose from actually. What will that do? That will actually increase the cost of products, not only because there's going to be less competition in the market, but the cost of procurement in America in itself, in the US, is going to be higher than that if the products were to be produced in China or any other country, any other developing country around the world, or middle income country. That is how economists look at it. That is how economics works. So the domestic production is going to be more expensive for the country as a whole, and Americans will have to pay more than what they currently are. And here's another example that I want to use that is not related to tariffs per se, but that is related to domestic production. We take Apple, for example. Apple is currently manufacturing in China, right? And Apple iPhones, they are available at a price of $800 to $1,000, I believe, right? So that is the price range of iPhones at this point of time. Now, if Apple tomorrow were to wrap up its manufacturing units from China and bring everything back to America, because of the procurement costs and the overall variable and the fixed costs that are involved in the US, that same product will sell in the US for 2 to 3 times. So if you were paying $800 for an iPhone, now you will have to pay at least $1,600, anywhere between $1,600 to $2,400 for the same iPhone, just because it was manufactured in the USA. And then the question becomes, yes, America first for Americans, but are Americans ready to put in $1,600 or $2,400, let's say $2,000, let's say, on the same product that they were earlier getting for $800 or $1,000? That's like 50 to 60%, 70% of their monthly income that we are talking about. And they have other expenses to pay as well. I don't think rationally a lot of people would agree to paying 2 or 3 times the amount. They could, but rationally speaking, I don't think they would spend 3 times the amount on the same product just because the product was manufactured in another country. And see, when we talk about tariffs, it's not just Trump. Trump imposed these tariffs when he was in the office, and the same taxes, they were, actually carried on by the Biden administration as well. They continued these taxes and even extended to some extent. So it is not just the Trump administration that you would want to look at or would want to blame for tariffs, but the picture is more or less same on the other side as well. Now, yes, you can argue that, tariffs became a core of Trump's recent election campaign. Tariffs took a center stage to the extent that Trump believes that he could remove income taxes entirely and replace them with tariffs. Trump has proposed that he wants to remove income tax entirely. Stay with me here for a minute and let us actually analyze the total imported value of goods in the US in 2023 versus the combined revenue from income taxes in the US in the same year. So when we look at the imported value of goods into the US, that was around $3 trillion as compared to the revenue collected from income taxes, that was around $2 trillion. Now, to entirely remove income taxes, Trump administration will have to impose a 67% tariff on almost every single good that it wants to import to the US. And that is what the problem is. Because when you put a 67% tax or an import duty on any product or service, the demand for that product will decrease, right? Then how will you be able to remove income taxes in its entirety when you're not going to be able to bring in a lot more revenue through tariffs because the demand for imported goods will decrease, at least in the short term. Let's stay here and let's talk about taxes. We've talked about income taxes and how Trump wants to remove income taxes, but he also wants to reduce corporate taxes. He wants to bring corporate taxes down to 20% or even 15%, which means that all the businesses, they're going to put in and reinvest more into their businesses. That is also another way of actually benefiting the employees of the company, because the employees, they're now going to be paid more, and the employees, they are going to benefit from a higher salary or bonuses, and also they're going to have a higher disposable income. But economists also argue that when employees, they have a higher disposable income, when you have a lot more money to spend, what happens is you're going to spend it on products and services, and then the value of those products and services, that is going to go up, right? And which is going to possibly cause inflation. So that is what economists believe is going to happen. But at the same time, companies are going to put in a lot more money into their growth. They're going to pay higher salaries to their employees, and that is how it should happen, right? So these are two of the most important economic policies that Trump wants to work on, and also two of the most important economic policies that economists are worried about. With that being said, what do you think about Trump's economic policies? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching this video, if you found this video valuable, please share this video with your friends and family, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video and have a great day.